actually selling the newspapers was only part of it. They say he was also great with people, genuinely liked them. He was as working class as they come, but could charm the pants off the toffs. He had the banter, the wit, the warmth. It was the same then as it is now. If you put a bit of sparkle into someone's day, make them laugh even for a moment, they walk away with a smile, feeling a bit better about the world and themselves. It's a kind of acting and well-crafted routine. Happy customers would then come back and hopefully be more generous with their tips. Donald also needed to make the right friends and avoid the wrong enemies, because if you didn't, your little earner would soon be someone else's. My Granny Florence was a Londoner, and quite a character herself. Known to everyone as Flo, she was a bit older than Donald, having been born at the end of Queen Victoria's reign. I wonder how many pubs were already called the Queen Vic back then. Granny had been married once before, with 4 children by the time she met Donald. The oldest was Florence, who everyone called Flossie, so as not to confuse her with her mum. No one born Florence seemed actually to be called Florence back then. Then came William, known as Billy, as no one seemed to be called William either. Then June, or Junie. Finally there was Evelyn, who was adopted towards the start of the Second World War, when Granny Flo had already turned 40. Donald and Flo were both already established in the community when they met. Flo was a force of nature with an entrepreneurial side. She was very well connected and respected, but not to be messed with. During the war, and for years afterwards, many goods were rationed and in short supply, and Granny seemed to have a network that could lay their hands on what people wanted, and also deal with problems. So you could go to her for pretty much anything, from black market stockings to calming down trouble and sorting issues. I don't know what happened to Granny's husband, but at some point she met Donald, who had been a bachelor till then, and he fell for Flo. They married in the early 1940s and moved in together in a medium-sized terrace house in Barron Street, Islington. With Flo's children, then had 2 of their own. My mum Joan was born in 1944, in the middle of what people called the Baby Blitz, the German bombing raids that targeted southeast England. More and more buildings were reduced to rubble every night, with a growing death toll of those inside or on the streets who didn't make it to the shelters in time. Joni, as Mum was known pretty much from the word go, was a beautiful, loving, feisty and funny little girl, a ray of sunshine in dark times and an absolute apple of her daddy's eye. My Aunt Carol came along a year later in 1945, just at the end of the war. So there they were, all 8 of them, crammed into what seemed like a happy, if chaotic, home. Because of their noses for business and determination to graft, Flo and Donald had done well for themselves for a working class couple who had started with nothing. There were a lot of mouths to feed though, and the whole of Britain was thrown into a post-war economic crisis, so money could never be taken for granted. Much of Islington had been bombed to within an inch of its life, with a tragic loss of life. Their house survived the war but was bulldozed later anyway, and they got a council flat. I never got a chance to talk to Mum about her life growing up, or what dreams she might have had when she was a teenager. Probably she didn't want to think beyond getting a job to help pay the bills and going out on Saturday night. By the time she was 16, the long dreary post-war era must have felt like it might be finally ending. Coffee bars had sprung up over the city, places for teenagers to meet alongside the local dance halls. I can imagine Mum being chatted up by young men in sharp suits and maybe even with their own transport. Guys who could flash the cash, make a girl laugh and feel like a princess. There may have been precious little actual glamour in working class Islington, with its grubby streets and bomb sites, but my mum was a really pretty girl who could make herself look glamorous and see where it got her. No doubt she was streetwise in some ways, but she was also too innocent in others. And where that got her was pregnant at 17 by a handsome charmer from Kentish Town. When my eldest brother Mark arrived in 1962, however, she was bowled over with love for her beautiful baby boy. Everything about Mark's dad was and remains a mystery. Mum didn't talk about him, and he was out of the picture long before Mark was born. So there was my mum, still only in her teens, with a baby boy and a father nowhere to be seen. When those are the cards you've been dealt, I suppose you do what you can to stay strong and make the most of it.